Wow, it's been a few months since I have done another video. I've been busy with some client work, some deadlines, and frankly just got sucked up into that and wasn't able to get another video out. But Windows 11 came out the other day. Windows 365 came out a few months ago, and as of today, October 5, 2021, Windows 11 is now supported within Microsoft 365 within the Cloud PC. So I figured I would walk through setting up Microsoft 365, getting a Windows 11 box up and running in Windows 365. So let's dive into it. Okay, so we're using Office 365, we're using Microsoft 365. We want to use these cloud PCs. Azure Virtual Desktop is still very much an option, and there are certain scenarios when Azure Virtual Desktop would make a lot of sense. But there's other scenarios where maybe you don't want to go through standing up Azure Virtual Desktop. You still want to use a cloud-based PC. For me, I'm on a Mac. There are certain times I still need to jump into Windows. So for me, Windows 365 is a great option. So let's get started and walk through setting it up. Over here I am in my browser. I actually have my users up already. I've assigned a Windows 365 Enterprise 4 VPU, 16 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabyte hard drive license. So my user has this license. What you'll find is once you have this license, it doesn't mean you can just go stand it up. There's some configuration that has to be done on the back end in order to get this up and going. So now that we have purchased licenses for an appropriate size and we need to go in and configure it, we're going to go over to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center, and this is where we're actually going to configure those devices. One thing to note, I am doing Enterprise. There's some requirements here with Enterprise versus the business that we'll get into here in a minute. In my Microsoft Enterprise Admin Center, to get it set up, you're going to click on Devices, and then within Devices, you'll actually have a Windows 365 provisioning section. So we can go ahead and click on Windows 365. I do already have this set up, so we're not going to set this up from scratch, but I'm going to go through the process that you would use and show you where some of those settings are. The first thing you need to do when you're dealing with Enterprise is you need this on-premises network connection. This is one of the key differences between Enterprise and Business, aside from number of users you can have, is that Business does allow you to do an Azure Active Directory only configuration of Windows 365. If you go Enterprise, you still do need a domain controller. This could be a domain controller up in Azure. It could be a domain controller in your on-premises network connected via VPN. Whatever it is, you still need a physical domain controller. There's some debate going on of why do you still need this when Azure Virtual Desktop actually supports just Azure AD. I don't know. Hopefully Azure AD will come to Enterprise here soon. Truth be told, I have tried to do some of the Azure Virtual Desktop VMs in Azure with Azure AD only join, and I'm actually still encountering issues with that. I have another client I've been working with. They've had troubles with that as well. I don't feel like Azure Active Directory only joining is still fully baked in. I still like having that domain controller. It works a lot better when it comes to VMs in Azure and Azure Virtual Desktop. So to set that up, you have an on-premises network connection. Again, I already have one set up here. This is that default Cloud PC connection. It's tied to a subscription domain. It's in my VNet. I had some goofy stuff set up. Yes, it's a demos VNet, still production. I had some naming issues. What you need to do is you need to go in and actually create that network connection. So for this one, we'll just call it my demo Intelligink connection. Go ahead and select the subscription. So this is going to drill down to that network location or that network that your physical domain controller sits on. So for mine, it is actually in this Intelligink prod. My resource group is Intelligink. This is that demos VNet. You may have seen it on the last screen. This is where my domain controller sits. And then I just have a default subnet in here. So if I was to go look in my Azure portal and look in my Intelligink prod subscription, my Intelligink resource group, my demos VNet, that default subnet, you would actually see my VM in Azure that's running my domain controller. Once I have that subnet set up, it's just going to be a typical Active Directory join. For me, it would be intelligink.com. Organizational unit, I just left that blank. I did not need the computer objects to go into a particular OU. If you do, you can fill this out. Active Directory, username, UPN. I had a dedicated one set up. I honestly don't even remember what it is, but in this case, it would be something like adconnect@intelligink.com. It does need that full email address. This is going to be password, just those credentials, what that domain is. Next. From here, it's just review and create. This is going to go attempt to connect to your domain controller, make sure it can validate, add some permissions to it. So this is creating that connection between your Windows 365 environment and your on-premises domain controller. Once that's been created, that's where you will then get these checks. It'll take a few minutes to run, go out, do all the checks, look and make sure it can connect to it. You're all joined in. You can see in mine, that VNet, here's those passwords, update passwords if I ever need to change it. That's how mine is configured. Once you have that on-premises network connection set up, you can go start setting up those various settings that you need to actually assign people to virtual machines. We're going to go take a look at user settings first. User settings, at this point in time, it's if they're going to be a local admin or not. There's not a lot of default user settings there. And then which groups these are assigned to. These are going to be those security groups in Azure Active Directory. So certain users are going to get those settings because it's just whether it's an admin or not. Anybody that's an Intelligink internal and is assigned this is going to get admin access on their VM. There's nothing else you can really set there. You can see if I go in and add more, it's the same thing. So really, at this point in time, user settings is just, are these users going to be admins on those Windows 365 computers, or are they not? Set up a couple groups, one for admins, one for not. Next up, we're going to have device images. Right now, I'm not using device images. Device images are going to be custom images that you've created, that you've uploaded. I'll put a link in the video below on where you can go create your own images. I'm not worrying about that for my purpose. I'm just using those out-of-the-box images that Microsoft provides. Provisioning policies. This is where you go in and start setting up those policies in terms of which VMs are assigned to your different users. I have this Intelligink default policy already. In here, this is where you can see I have my general settings, just a name, a description, that on-premises network connection. So this is that on-premises network connection we created earlier. That's why you need to create that first. Down in my images here, I just chose the gallery image. I selected Windows 10 Enterprise. And then just like before with the settings, I assigned this to a particular Azure Active Directory group. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new policy and also start looking at this transition from Windows 10 Enterprise to Windows 11. Now that that's released, again, if you are looking to do Windows 10, you do this the same way to set up a Windows 10 as I do a Windows 11. I already have this policy out here, but I want to create a new one so I can start moving users to Windows 11. So we're going to go click create a new policy, and I'm going to name this one Intelligink, and we'll call it Win11. My on-premises connection, this is that connection that we set up before to our on-premises domain controller. So we're going to select that connection. Now the image. We have our custom image. This is going to be if you've uploaded one of those images from the image gallery and you want to select one of those. In this case, we're going to choose a gallery image and then select one of those Windows 11 images. If you are still looking to roll out Windows 10, you can select one of the Windows 10 options. You will notice you have recommendations here for different CPU levels. Essentially, if you're running a small cloud PC and you're just running like one CPU, minimal RAM, you're going to want to make sure to select one of these optimized ones for smaller Specs. For us, we have the 4 CPUs, the 16 gigs of RAM. So we could do one of these where it's anything 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM and above. We're going to select a Windows 11 one. And that's the image that's now going to get deployed when one of these PCs is created. Next, I'm actually not going to assign anybody right now. We're going to leave this one unassigned because I want to show you some things with some of the devices. You also need to be careful because you can't have multiple people assigned to different provisioning policies, or they actually start to fight with each other. Because you can't have more than one cloud PC assigned to you, if I have that Windows 10 policy that I'm currently assigned to, and I have a Windows 11 policy that I'm also assigned to, I won't get a Windows 11 PC. It just won't happen. And then if you get unassigned, you'll jump over to another policy. It can cause some confusion. So we're going to not assign anybody to this Windows 11 environment yet, and just click Next. Review and create. There's no groups assigned. Yep, we can go ahead and create this policy. So now I have a Windows 11 policy, and I have a Windows 10 policy. If I go over to my cloud PCs, I actually have a couple of them right now. I have my Windows 10 Enterprise. So this is the Windows 10 device that I've been using for a while now. Has all my settings. I have another device because Demo 1 also has a license, but there hasn't been a policy assigned to them yet. Once they get a policy assigned to them, that provisioning will start. If you have assigned a license and you don't have this showing up here yet, don't worry about it. You don't have to wait for a device that's not provisioned, not assigned to show up. I actually was doing some testing, and this is also a little bit of a remnant of some of that testing where it's just kind of an empty PC out there waiting to be provisioned. You may not necessarily have these if you've assigned a license and haven't provisioned it yet. So if we want our demo user to get Windows 11, this is a brand new user. We want them to be on Windows 11. I actually do have some groups out there that we could assign to that Windows 11 provisioning policy. So if I jump back to my admin center and look at some of my groups, I have a demo users group here that I created. And inside of this demos users group, I'm an owner, but I just have that demo 1 user. If I jump back to my devices here, and let's go back to these provisioning policies, and let's go to Intelligink Windows 11, and we're going to set up a group now. I'm going to go in and assign that group demo users because I know that demo user is the only one in it. I'm not in it. I'm the one using that Windows 10 PC. You could set up different groups. Maybe you have a Windows 11 group and a Windows 10 group. However you want to do that is up to you. So let's choose demo users. We're going to go ahead and select that. Next, do an update to it. And pretty quickly here, when I jump back to devices now, and you can see Intelligink Windows 11, that Windows 11 user is assigned, all cloud PCs, it's going to start provisioning that Windows 11 machine. I want to move mine to Windows 11. This is where you have to be careful. Currently, everything I have seen there is not a migration path. I actually did try to upgrade one of these once to Windows 11, broke the whole thing. I had to start it over, blow it away, start from scratch. So you do need to set up a brand new Windows 11 cloud PC. So you're going to lose any of those settings that you currently have out there for this machine. You're kind of stuck, to be honest. With the cloud, hopefully everything's out in OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams. You don't need to worry about migrating files, documents, pictures, all of that. But you do need to take into account that when you're going to start moving users from Windows 10 Enterprise to Windows 11 Enterprise, it's going to be like giving them a brand new machine. So a couple ways you could go about doing this. The first approach you could take is I could go into my policies, and over here in my policies where Windows 10 is assigned, I could go into my assignments here and actually unassign this group. I could remove all of these users from this group. That machine would actually go into a grace period where I would have access to it for 7 days. So I can even demonstrate that. If I go in here and let's just remove this group, click next, update. This Windows 10 group now is completely unassigned. If I go back to my devices and look at my cloud PCs, you'll quickly see I have Windows 10 now. It's in a grace period. If you go look at it, it's in a grace period. It allows users to access it for 7 days before deprovisioning. It's triggered if that license is removed, the provisioning policy is unassigned. Once it's in that grace period, I could now go in and add that user or add that group to my Windows 11 policy so that now that provisioning can kick back off and I can get a Windows 11 PC. That is definitely one viable option. And if you want to do this a user at a time, maybe instead of that approach, I actually leave this Intelligink internal group in place. So I'm going to go put this group back on there. Select that. That group is back in place. I now have my license back. My cloud PC, it is actually going to figure out that I have that license back. I have that provisioning policy back. Instead of actually removing or unassigning a group, I could go in and essentially move users from internal, or again, maybe that was my Windows 10 group. So this could be a reason also to use a very specific group for these cloud provisioning so that you can move users in and out of these security groups in Azure AD so that you can affect their cloud provisioning without affecting anything else. For instance, that Intelligink internal, if I got dropped from that group, it would affect more than just my cloud PC. So I really can't do that. One option there, manage those users, manage those groups, move them from group to group. Just be aware that a Windows 11, it is not going to be an upgrade. It is going to eliminate their original device and actually redeploy a brand new clean instance of Windows 11. The other option, I can go into my provisioning policies here, and where I see Intelligink default, I can go modify the image. So in this case, I had that Windows 10 Enterprise. I want everybody to get Windows 11 that's in this group. I can go in and actually switch this image now to that brand new Windows 11 Enterprise image. Go next, we'll do an update here. This is going to update that provisioning policy now and that image to a Windows 11 Enterprise version. So now both Intelligink Default and Intelligink Windows 11 are set up. So now that I've updated my Intelligink Default image, my provisioning policy to Windows 11, you'll notice that my cloud PC is still running Windows 10. It's still my Windows 10 device. This is because it only appears to actually upgrade these devices when you would re-provision them. So simply updating your provisioning policies, switching that image over to Windows 11, isn't necessarily going to be that destructive process. It's going to set it up so that any newly provisioned machine within that policy or that someone is assigned to that policy is going to get Windows 11. Anybody that currently has their cloud PC in place, anybody that currently still has Windows 10, it's not just going to blow it away and upgrade a new Windows 11 one. That's something you're going to have to do. So as we looked at those two options, the one where you get completely unassigned from a policy, that's going to be that destructive action where it's going to go in, it's going to delete your cloud PC, you're going to pick up that new cloud provisioning policy that you've been assigned to and recreate a new one. Simply updating that provisioning policy will leave everybody as they were that was originally provisioned in that policy, leave everybody on Windows 10, and only new people will get it. Or if you go into one of those devices, and I'll actually do this here in a minute, and do a re-provision is also a destructive action. So that's going to be that action that goes in and deletes that existing device or that existing machine, recreates a new one, and only then is it going to pick up that new provisioning policy and create it with that new policy. There we go. We can see it's Windows 10 Enterprise. I'm going to go into this device now, And let's go ahead and reprovision this. We'll click yes. That reprovision is pending. If we go into these devices, eventually this will catch up. Those are your two options when it comes to starting to move users, when it comes to upgrading users or moving users to Windows 11. So the first one, like we said, go into your provisioning policies, remove a user from your default one that at one point in time may have been on Windows 10. That will deprovision their Windows 10 machine, add them to that Windows 11 one. It will reprovision them on Windows 11. Second option is you go in and update that existing policy that everybody has from Windows 10 to Windows 11, but just be careful in terms of what you do to users and what you do to groups to make sure you don't deprovision them or somehow take away their license, because they'll keep running on their currently provisioned PC. And then once you go in and reprovision that machine, it will go ahead and reprovision it with Windows 11. You will see that this one is now reprovisioning. It still says Windows 10. This won't flip over to Windows 11 until it's been fully provisioned. So that's another way you could do it a little bit at a time, is go update that default policy. Make sure all of your new users within that policy are getting Windows 11. And then as you schedule existing users that are on Windows 10 to upgrade to Windows 11, you could go into their devices, force a reprovision that will blow away their Windows 10 environment, update them to Windows 11, so then they're now running on Windows 11. So I think that about wraps it up. We looked at setting up that on-premises network connection, those provisioning policies, the user settings, setting all of those up, and then some of those intricacies of how these provisioning policies work, when machines get deprovisioned or deleted, when they get reprovisioned, different ways to move users from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Just the important part in all of that is, one, be careful, because that move from Windows 10 to Windows 11, a deprovisioning of a machine, is very much a destructive process where users will lose that entire machine, any of the settings they have configured. Anything that's in there is going to go away when Windows 10 goes away and they get moved to Windows 11. Just take care there. Be very careful with that. And then set up those policies. Make sure you don't have a user assigned to more than one policy. Goofy things can happen when you do that. Overall, it's a relatively straightforward process when it comes to setting up a new policy, getting going on Windows 11. Hopefully you liked that video. Hopefully that all made sense. It explained it well. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you liked the video, subscribe, hit the like button. Let me know what videos you want next around that whole Microsoft 365, Windows 365, Azure Cloud space. Hopefully it won't be quite so long before I come out with a new video, but thank you for watching. Thanks for checking out this video, and have a great day.